Good morning, viewers, and welcome to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago, as we continue to give God thanks for life. I am Julian Skeet.
And I am Rhea Richardson George, and this is the day that the Lord has made, and we will rejoice and be glad in it. Good morning to Tobago, good morning Trinidad, those of you viewing in the Caribbean, and those of you on the live. Good Tuesday morning going out to you. Julian, how are you today?
Doing quite fine. It's my kind of weather on the outside. You know, that kind of keeping it cool. So certainly, I'm doing quite fine, thank God. And you?
I could be better. Certainly, the rain is not my thing. But I guess we'll just make the adjustments. I had on my hoodie this morning with umbrella, making it out, you know.
The full works.
Yeah, not my thing.
All right, certainly. And at this point, viewers, we head straight on over to news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
Thank you, Julian and Rhea. I am Bianna Brebner, and here is your news in 90 seconds for Tuesday, 5th September 2023. The political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Assemblyman Watson Dew, has extended an olive branch to Chief Secretary and interim leader of the Tobago's People Party, Farley Augustine. Dew called for reconciliation during a news conference at the PDP headquarters in Port Mall, Scarborough. He expresses his commitment to peace and revealed that he had written to Augustine to initiate the process. Duke emphasized that the importance of unity and working together for the common good of Tobago, stating that the division would not lead to success against the PNM. 2 new boards were appointed yesterday. Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, Tasia Boris, and Assistant Secretary Megan Morrison have officially inaugurated the newly appointed boards of directors for the Tobago Festivals Company Limited and the Performing Arts Company. The TFCL board will be led by Chairman Ms. Cindy Lowe Edwards and Deputy Chairman Mr. Gilbert Happy O'Connor, with 5 directors. The TPAC board is chaired by Mr. Bindi Benjamin, with Deputy Chairman Mr. Charleston Thomas and other directors. The board aims to advance culture and artistic development in Tobago. The judiciary has advised individuals to make cash payments for court order maintenance fees and fines only at the NLCB Lotto booth to avoid delays in receiving payouts. This recommendation comes as the judiciary noted that cash payments made at Lotto booths are typically received within 4 days, while payments to other vendors can result in time delays due to reconciliation processes. Although the transition to NLCB has reduced some challenges, others persist. Until these issues are resolved, payers are urged to use the NLCB Lotto booths exclusively for cash payments. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Welcome back, viewers. And at this point, we're heading into our birthday celebrations, birthday shout-out, sponsored by KFC.
This is your birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
And we get started with, the very lovely Hyacinth Leander. And certainly want to wish you a happy birthday. The celebrations got going. We bounced up over the course of the weekend, and I know most certainly it's important to take that time out to celebrate life. And certainly want to wish you a happy birthday, Hyacinth Leander.
And we've got Devon Nance celebrating her birthday. Devon, happy birthday going out to you, and cheers to life. Lots of love from all of us here at Tobago Updates.
On screen, we got Joyce Moore Boris, and today she's celebrating 68 28. We want to say congratulations and happy birthday, as I call her, Miss Joyce out there, really celebrating and giving God thanks, for being able to get to this stage and him continuing to offer his blessings. We wish you continued health and indeed continued blessings on this birthday. Happy birthday to you.
And this is Gareth Stewart celebrating a birthday. Gareth, birthday greetings going out to you. We trust that you enjoyed today. And lots of love from all of us here at Tobago Updates.
And we have on screen Garvey Gift. We're wishing you a happy birthday blessings going out to Garvey Gift today, coming from the entire Tobago Updates family.
Birthday shoutouts on Tobago Updates, sponsored by KFC.
From the experts that created the Zinger sandwich comes the KFC Crispy Barbecue Zinger.
The only one I see is you.
Cheddar cheese, crispy onions, the most delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, and barbecue sauce. Get ready for a whole new level of flavor.
Yes, good morning and welcome back, viewers, to the Tobago Updates morning show. Give me your Ria, who do we have on the rundown this morning?
Well, we're still talking politics, and that's what that's the mainstay of what we do. All right, so we're going to be starting things off this morning, chatting with Watson Duke, political leader, Progressive Democratic Patriots, about the PDP in Trinidad and the future of the PDP in Tobago. And we see here, Julian, where Mr. Duke has been extending this olive branch to the to Chief Sec Farley and this new political entity. Yet, Mr. Duke is also indicating that if they do not accept this olive branch, it will be war.
I listened yesterday to the press conference, and I said quite interesting, because people have varying views in and around Tobago, in fact, regarding where things would go and what the hopes are. In some instances, people have concerns with regards to the fact as to the focus is now on Tobago. Quite recently, the focus was on Trinidad. So it will be really interesting to see what the developments, happen to be in going forward. Mm-hmm. But I'm not certain, interesting enough, can the PDP and Mr. Duke have two political enemies at once? That'd be an interesting perspective, because I know that's the way he views, the PNM here in Tobago. And if this olive branch isn't taken, that will now also be the way that he views the TPP. Can the PDP, and in this very small Tobago space, really take on two enemies in the circumstances? But very interesting developments. If I were not sure, I would think that general elections was happening in a few months by virtue of the political atmosphere. But I want to go into some good news this morning. Ria, so who do we have on the rundown before we head on over?
All right, so we start things off chatting with Watson Duke. Then we're going to continue this morning chatting with Rudel Kirk, who is the superintendent of Trinidad and Tobago Police Services, he's going to give us some updates from the TTPS on the new school term. We're going to wrap things up this morning
with Andrea Jofield and Pearl Henry, representing the Tobago Tourism Agency Limited. So that's who we have on the lineup this morning. And as we mentioned, we get started with Watson Duke. So we get that opportunity to ask him all the questions front and center to get an idea as to where his thinking is. But just before we head on into Tobago in Focus, I wanted to highlight this morning, Ria, one of my sponsors here, Classic Cuts by Aquilon, continuing to provide that level of support. And we have some images that should be coming up on screen. Over the course of this weekend, they would have hosted Aquilon in particular, Kids Fest, free back-to-school haircuts for children under 12. And that's Classic Cuts by Aquilon. And certainly I want to extend commendations indeed. These are several barbers coming together here to make this initiative happen, under the banner and so on. And I felt it was so impressive getting going from just after 8 in the morning. And that's the man there himself, Akilon Ned, really behind pushing this initiative and collaborating with several other barbers within Tobago to make this happen. And I want to say kudos and congratulations. Most certainly, you all will hear me talking from time to time. Classic cuts by Akilon, responsible certainly for some of the fancy things you will see from time to time happening in my hair and on in terms of barbering. And I really want to say kudos and commendations for taking that time out to be able to give back. Well done indeed.
I see the chief is one of his customers. I noticed on the banner.
A wide cross section, of persons that visit and go to there. So I mean, really commendations indeed for the initiative taking place.
Yeah, we need to send camera 2. We need to send camera 2 over to him now. Don't we?
All right, viewers, before we get into any more trouble this morning, we're heading straight on in to Tobago in Focus.
For those who have plans to pursue tertiary education or are already enrolled, there is a Department of Advanced Training that aids with grants and bursaries. This department exists within the Division of Education, Research and Technology.
We provide financial assistance to persons who decide to pursue tertiary education or who are pursuing tertiary education. We also provide persons and advisory service to persons who require that type of advice, both financial as well as career guidance. And we try to also provide persons with placement. For those persons who would have actually received funding from us, we try to place them in facilitate their placement in jobs.
To access these services, one must apply to an institution of study and the institution must be accredited. In order to be facilitated, the program being pursued must also be accredited.
The idea is that we want to see that the person, whoever the person is and whatever the person, the institution is, the important thing is that the institution is accredited and the program is accredited. But much more than that, that the person is also pursuing something that would be of benefit to Tobago and in Trinidad and Tobago for that matter.
The assistance being offered by the department has a wide range. Assistance can be anywhere from tuition expenses to living expenses. It can also include meals, transportation, books, and so forth. An applicant needs to state what they require and what the expenses are that need to be covered. The application will then be vetted and it will be determined what assistance you will receive. You can connect with the department via the THA website, tha.dert.gov.tt, or through the division's head office at 299-0781.
Good morning, viewers, and welcome back to the Tobago Updates morning show, coming to you here live from the Port Mall in Scarborough, Tobago. Ria, just before we head on into our first guest, we also saw yesterday the appointment of 2 new boards once again in terms of the Tobago Festivals Commission Limited and the Tobago Performing Arts Company. Your thoughts, expectations in terms of driving things in that direction, building from the perspective of the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation.
Sure, we can hope. I noticed as well, TTAL is taking on that new initiative of spreading the word of Tobago. And one can really hope that this, what worked before. We're moving into a new season and we've got to adjust and we've got to tailor things to suit a new direction. And I'm really hoping here that it makes a difference with regards putting the word on who we are as the greatest little island on the earth, who we are and what we have to offer. So I'm hoping here that it makes that difference.
Certainly. All right, folks. So we're heading into our first segment here this morning. We have on with us Watson Duke, political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, the PDP. Good morning to you, Mr. Duke. Good morning. right. We seem to be having some technical challenges there in terms of connecting. Good morning, Mr. Duke.
Good morning, Tobago. Good morning to the people of Roxborough, Argyle, that afford the most resilient and tough people out.
All right. So, Mr. Duke, we're happy to have you on with us this morning. And we're driving, in the first instance, a number of things we want to try to catch up on from your perspective. We want to start by looking at how would you define the current status of the Progressive Democratic Patriots?
Well, the current status of the PDP is that we have won the elections in Tobago, 14-1, and we continue to hold the reins of governance in Tobago, in spite of the defecting of certain persons. The PDP, as a party, continue to hold the THA within the Tobago House of Assembly, simply because in the Tobago House of Assembly Act, there is no room for crossing the floor. You can't cross the floor in Tobago House of Assembly Act. And there's no room for party. So as a commune, you stay as a commune. You can't change that as a commune in the Tobago House of Assembly Act. And so it is worrisome that some folks are trying to convolute the idea that a new party is running Tobago House of Assembly, and that's wrong. It's legally wrong and morally wrong. So the status of the PDP, to put it to you more succinctly, is that we continue to lead the Tobago House of Assembly, albeit with some persons who have defected in their minds.
So we know that you have indicated in terms of re-establishing a presence here in Tobago. But just before we get to that, we want to speak to the happenings at the level in Trinidad, noting the closing of the main office in terms of the PDP headquarters. Tell us a little bit about that. What does that mean? Is that an indication of not necessarily continuing to make that extensive effort in Trinidad, and as you indicated, re-establishing that focus for Tobago?
Well, let me put it to you clearly. It's a state of progress. People move from one office to the next. The Chief Secretary's office is located at that whole building. Building it is going up to Cudler Hall up there, if you want to call it that way, Cudler Hall up there. But he's not currently there. What does that mean? Is that the Chief Secretary has closed his office? No. That relocation. So we would have relocated from Barataria to the heart of Port of Spain, where we now operate from, and we are yet to finalize the building that we will be occupying for the next few years. So while we are doing that, we can't starve the horses while the grasses are growing. But we are ready. Ready, son?
Mr. Duke, good morning again and welcome to you. Question, why do you feel the need at this point in time to extend the olive branch, so to speak, to the TPP?
Well, I did not extend it to TPP, so let's get that part right. I will not refer to that at all, right? I've extended it to Farley Augustine in this capacity. You got me clearly?
No,
yes, I did not refer.
Could you repeat? Could you repeat, please?
Right, I did not refer my request to meet and to put Tobago first, but no, whatever thing you call that thing. I don't know what it is. Right? I've spoken to Farley directly in my letter asking him for us to sit and talk. Understand me, that thing that they have is invaluable. That only becomes valuable at an election. It has not dealt with any election yet. A mother is only a mother when she goes into the theater and she gives birth. She has to give birth. If she doesn't give birth, she's not a mother. Party is only a party when it comes alive at the election polls. So right now, all the parties who have gotten one vote, the T, whatever Charles Party is more valuable than that. It has contested elections. It has a feel for how the electorate are. And so you don't just create something and so you're in charge. They are commingling the administration of Tobago House of Assembly with their political aspirations. You can't do the two. It's vulgar and it's wrong. So I spoke to Farley, Chavez, Augustine directly because by and large, they are still PDP. There is no way that they could jump ship legally. So all that nonsense they're talking is just one thing. And the inaction of the Prime Minister and certain so-called law lords is just one thing again that we don't have time for. The fact is, read the Tobago Assembly Act. It does not acknowledge party, right? But certainly when you get there because of a party. All right? And I had to sign for each and every one of them to run under my ticket. Farley come right down. I signed for every single one of them, giving them permission to run under the party. I was the one, as a political leader, who said to Farley in 2019, that's in October in Magdalena, I said to him and the whole population there, I want you to be the next chief secretary, and I've not reneged from that. So I'm speaking to him as a man who I once had great faith in. A man who I once admired to be supportive of the dreams that Tobago espoused. So you can't go before Tobago, sign a mandate with all kind of commissioner affidavit. He must be perhaps angry at this time that he's put his signature to such, and then turn it back on Tobago, say to them, you're independent. What does independent mean? It simply means that I have no attachment to nobody. I do have a mandate. Even the thing that they're calling themselves, that has no mandate. So therefore, the only mandate that they can be evaluated by is the PDP mandate. And so I'm speaking to him as a brother, as a colleague, and say, look, my friend, the little infractions we may have had among ourselves, that can be forgiven. That can be forgotten. But you see, once you take Tobago and you begin to puppy shoot Tobago, and you deny Tobago the right to fulfill the mandate that they agreed to, that you sign up to, that is unforgivable. And you will pay in the polls.
Mr. Duke, interesting that you give that perspective there in closing, where you feel that the secretary is attempting to puppy show. How do you respond to persons that raise the concern in relation to you, Mr. Duke? Had you been successful, your candidate's been successful in the local election, became an alderman, and had the opportunity to become mayor, would this still be a re-establishment of your presence here in Tobago?
Of course, it would have been. I'm a born Tobagonian, I'm a Tobagonian, I live here.
So you're saying even if you had become mayor of Port of Spain and the demands in terms of Trinidad, you would still seek to maintain your presence for the PDP here in Tobago and make a similar call in terms of that olive branch?
That's right. See, the idea was, at the end of the day, to ensure that the people of Tobago got what they voted for. They voted for a party. They voted for all of us to work together to achieve those goals. And you can see my absence from the party, from the executive, has basically left them helpless. Every Monday morning is a quarrel over a pothole, bursting somebody's tire, some landslide coming on somebody's house. People are given inadequate jobs that are not sustainable, more make work again. And the thing is just going like a merry-go-round. And the only ones happy are those who are riding the horses. We have to recognize that the idea of let's fix Tobago is not just a catchphrase, it is a vow, it's a pledge of Tobagonians. They take that seriously. What have we fixed? Nothing. And so the call is to let us fix Tobago again. And I'm not looking for a job. I do not want to be deputy chief secretary. I don't want to be a secretary. I just am saying to him, Matt, surely, look, that's kind of a play that we seem to be going on. Let's put it aside and let's put Tobago first. Yeah?
Mr. Duke, per adventure, Chief Farley and the team, the TPP, decide to accept this olive branch. How do you see this moving forward? How do you see this collaboration moving forward?
I will not predict or anticipate how it's going to move forward. One, people saw as mature people. But it's like the politics focus on Tobago is where I'm saying, I'm not referring to that thing. That thing, I'm not referring to it. When I sit and I speak to the people, that's what I got into politics. That's what the PDP is about. Tobago, 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 Tobago. When we swam, it was for Tobago. When we walked the mile, it was for Tobago. When we stood up and we argue about the boats, etc., in the House of Assembly, for Tobago. So it's all about Tobago. So I don't know when it was about Duke or Farley. When I dressed back, I say, I want to lead Tobago. It was about Tobago. I felt a young man would have been supportive of anything positive, anything uplifting for Tobago. And I don't know the man would have come and stabbed Tobago in the back, say he's not PDP. You don't know about that party there. He's independent. And next thing you see all the independents forming one party. Oh gosh, man. Come on. People hate traitors. They hate traitors. And he has but a short. The PNM people in January 21, they were given another branch to us work together as one for Tobago again. They refused that. And it's 14-1. I could assure you, as night follows day, that they will not escape unscathed. They will not escape unscathed the moment they reject that idea of putting Tobago first. Remember, I'm not looking for a secretary job. I am an assemblyman, and that I am happy being, but I'm expecting them to respect Tobagonians and try to deliver earnestly what they have promised. All the reporting and all that kind of stuff. They used to have mandate Monday, etc. People they just give a put on the mandate. Where's the reporting now? They're going around village by village, engaging stuff, talks. Come on.
Mr. Duke, the question would be asked naturally. You have extended the olive branch, but on the same note, you have included a number of conditions. You refuse to recognize the recent party that would have been launched, the Tobago People's Party. Clearly, you are indicating you're not recognizing the party, you're speaking to the individual. Similarly, you seem to still have some very severe concerns, but on the same breath, you're indicating that you're willing to forgive and move on. How do you see this working ultimately, Mr. Duke?
Israel and Palestine just sit down and talk. And there's big war people. Right? Iran and Iraq just sit down and talk. That's a height of democracy. People sitting down and talk. I have no problem talking with Iran and together on this. Fact that he has a party. And I'm saying leave a party for politics. Your party only becomes a party at the time of election and at the time of giving birth. Otherwise, you're not a mother, so forget the idea that you're a party, and I will not engage in that. They have no party there until they go to the polls and let people decide.
So the olive branch only extends to Farley, Chavez, Augustine, and not the rest of those individuals who also formed part of bringing the also formed part of the PDP.
I think you are making muddy water now out of clean water. I was very clear in my letter I wrote to Farley, Chavez, Augustine. I can't write a letter to everybody. All right? It's up to him to bring whosoever he wants to bring, and I can't tell him that. If we're going to meet, it is our meeting. He can bring whomsoever he will. So don't make muddy water out of clean water. Let's keep the thing clean, at least for drinking purposes and aesthetics.
All right. Mr. Duke, do you still see the PNM here in Tobago as an enemy of the PDP, as you may have described it in the past?
Well, all parties that are not for Tobago are enemies of the PDP. And I would say enemies mean political enemies.
Correct.
I don't mean that I hate the PNM people. I love the PNM people. I love the people who associate with Farley under whatever name they call themselves. Right? I love those people. They are human beings. They are Tobagoans, of course. And their acceptance or rejection of me is something I must note. So it's never a situation where that I want to do as I please. No. I welcome opposition. and I welcome persons with a different point of view for Tobago. But insofar as battling for Tobago, politics is about the ideas. And I believe the ideas that I have is superior to the one that they have. And therefore, and the last time we went to the poll, it showed that it was great ideas. The people voted for it. So indeed, I reckon them to be political enemies because of their ideas for Tobagonians.
So, Mr. Duke, my follow-up would be, you have indicated similarly, if this effort, because we know you have made an effort in the past in terms of putting out that olive branch, you have indicated that if they fail to accept this effort, you'd be waging, it will be political war. What does that mean, Mr. Duke?
Well, I don't know if that's the best way to couch in my sentiments. I mean, there will be political enemies of the PDP. Now, their ideas will no longer be one that the PDP would even consider. Because I think Tobago first and anything else after. All right? And so I will always want to see any would-be party that is coming into existence always put Tobago first and anything else after. So it's about Tobago first. In this sense, when we're talking Tobago politics.
So, Mr. Duke, if it is that it doesn't work out and we see a scenario of the PNM fielding candidates in the next election and similarly the TPP, is it that you're saying the PDP will be fighting both enemies or political enemies, that is? We want to get some predictions into 2025.
That's a very long way to go, That's a very long way to go, so I wouldn't get into all of that. But I don't have to wait until an election to come to start branding persons as being against the people of Tobago. Your very own will indicate that you are either for Tobago or against Tobago. All right?
Now, I know we'll be getting ready to wrap up here with you, Mr. Duke, but very quickly here, we started off with a PDP, and along the way, we moved to a PDP and a TPP. What do you want from the people of Tobago in terms of support, respect? How do we move forward? What is the message that you want to leave with the people of Tobago in terms of now, you wanting to extend this olive branch and come together with the TPP and forge forward for the people of Tobago? You kept reiterating here that it's Tobago first. Let's fix Tobago. This was the mandate for the PDP. How do we move forward now after all the water under the bridge, after all the mudslinging? How do we move forward? How do we trust you're wanting to extend this olive branch and wanting to come together to move forward in the name of fixing Tobago first? Hello?
It's either we work together or we work separately. Yeah, you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
You hear me? You hear me?
Yes, we're hearing you. Go ahead.
Right. I'm saying it's either right. So it's either we work together or we work separately. Equipment that is doubled up and tripled up and quadrupled up is hard, but that stands alone. No party is super party. All the parties must be subject of the desires of the people. We went to the people with just one goal: say we're going to put them first. We're going to ensure we can take care of our mothers are being taken care of, create sustainability that could stand up to the pressures and all of these things. We're going to create our own. But throughout our reign as PDP executive officers, have seen a level of betrayal. People let them date, say that they're independent and they're doing what they want, they're doing their own thing. We have heard a number of statements that have been spoken of and never materialize. And so Tobago now is in a quandary. When will we get the gratuity? When will we get the extra payment? When would we get the sustainable jobs? When would contractors be paid? When would the hospital be properly equipped? When would we close up all of these potholes that are damaging our tires? When would these landslides that occurred last year, these about 60 or 70 something landslides that threatening homes and driveways and walkways, be addressed? So, and the number of concerns that Tobago continues to have. And my thing is, let us put those concerns first, and I'll be a happy man.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Duke, we want to thank you very much for joining us here on the Tobago Updates morning show this morning, and we look forward to hearing what the follow-up conversations will be coming from the letter that you... has the letter been sent already, or it will be sent?
It has been sent since a long time.
All right, so we look forward to hearing whether or not there would be some response coming on the part of the Chief Secretary, Fali Chavez Agustin. Certainly getting a perspective there from Mr. Duke. What stood out to me very, very, very interesting, is the indication that there is still time between now and 2025 in terms of the next election. But again, the question continues to remain ultimately. How are things going to work? And it's going to become a very interesting thing but we will continue to observe and to pay attention. Things working here in our Tobago space, bearing in mind, one, if there is that acceptance of the olive branch to be able to go forward, and how would Tobago feel about that? And two, if there isn't, and what the reactions and circumstances will be.
Question, to whom is the olive branch extended? We're still not clear on that.
Well, he said it's definitely not extended in terms of the party as an entity, but extended to Fali Chavez Agustin, and he's free to bring whomsoever he chooses to in the circumstance. All right, so we want to say thank you very much there to Watson Duke, political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, for joining us here this morning on the Tobago Updates morning show. At this point, viewers, we're heading on out to a break, and we want to remind you that this is your opportunity to share the live, share the live, share the live.
This is how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show, and everybody's gonna know. Say it to them once again. They better look up below. This is your show, and everybody's gonna know. That's how it's gonna go. They better look up below, 'cause this is your show. Live more.
There's a new date for Tobago Swim Fest, September 17th, 2023. Come and witness the main event, the 4-kilometer swim from Pigeon Point to Buku Point. More than $25,000 in prizes. It's a family affair, so come out from 11 a.m. on the beautiful Buku Beach. There'll be swimming races, sandcastle building, and seafood on sale. Come and enjoy a fun day at the beach. Calling swimmers from Crown Point to Charlottesville. Registration on the day.
So your car break down.
Oh, no, not again.
And you're worried paying a wrecker could mean a pocket breakdown too. But when you're insured with Tatil, no stress.
Yes!
A Tatil motor policy has lots of benefits that protect your pocket, like free roadside assistance. That's free 24/7 every time, as many times as you need. Tatil, where people are people. A member of the Answer Macal Group.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place.
Welcome back this morning.
Good morning.
Welcome back this morning to the Tobago Updates morning show, and we continue the discussion this morning, chatting with Rudel Kirk, Superintendent of the TTPS. And this morning our focus is on, he's going to give us this morning some updates, give us the weekend review, and give us an idea of some safety tips as we look at the new school term. Good morning and welcome to you.
Good morning, Ria, and good morning to your viewers. Good morning, Tobago.
Always good to have you on the program. Let's start things off this morning. Give us an idea of what we're looking at in terms of safety, security. Tell us how the last week has been. We see some persons just about a week ago, we saw the drowning and murder of 2 young persons in Tobago. We saw as well where within a week's time, 1 young man has been assisting, and that's how the news report put it, has been assisting police officers with the shooting death of this young woman in Canaan. Where are we?
First and foremost, Ria, I would like to correct. There has been 1 murder. Out of that incident, 2 persons were shot. 1 person died. The other person is currently still receiving medical attention and stable, resting at hospital now.
No, I was referring to the shooting incident. As I mentioned, we lost 2 young persons. 1 drowned, that was at Pigeon Point, and then the murder of the young woman.
Well, right. Yes. Well, my apologies.
Yes.
What I want to say is that we just came out of the independence, and that was, a lot for the police and the other arms of the protective services. I am happy to report that during that week, we had a rather safe and quiet period. We had break-ins and larcenies continue to be our main challenge within the Tobago space in terms of crimes. We have seen that is constantly on the rise. However, notwithstanding that, we still have, based on our statistic, 14% decrease in serious crimes within the island. And we have also seen, from yesterday, we have seen that we have an increased detection rate up to 34% now. Our mandate was set at 30, so we are now over. We are now above the required detection rate, which was set. Also, what I want to say, yes, in terms of that investigation with the murder, the suspect, Umar Charles of Bethesda, he appeared before magistrate yesterday, was remanded in custody, and I think the next court appearance is the 2nd of October. So I want to commend the officers who work steadfastly, work tirelessly throughout the day and night to bring this matter, to a close at this stage. So, hats off to the officers who were involved in the investigations.
And very quickly here, even on that issue, a lot of the public was some of the questions being asked. One, what was a 17-year-old doing at a bar? And as far as you know, is this legal, illegal?
Well, the thing about it is, there are some things that, constantly being overlooked. At any licensed premises, which like a club or a bar, there should be no admittance to persons under the age of 18 or selling alcohol to any person under the age of 18. That is something that is against the law. However, this situation is a sensitive one.
Yes. I
don't want to pronounce too much on it, but in going forward, these are things that the police in the district will look into. We are due to embark on an education drive, speaking with the stakeholders, bar owners, etc., so that they, will be more aware in treating with when patrons are participating in their establishments.
And even as though that question is being asked, I want to overlook that, because had it not been a 17-year-old being shot and killed, it could have been someone else.
Yes,
so
of
I want to,
course.
while we're looking at the age of the victim, I want us to take a look at the fact that someone felt it okay to go clubbing with a loaded firearm.
Not only a loaded firearm, an illegal firearm.
Illegal loaded firearm.
Right. So this is one of the focuses that I would want to speak on, because of the fact that, notwithstanding was a 17-year-old, there should be measures put in place in these establishments to ensure that persons attending feel safe. You know, I think the owners or the operators of these establishments must, you know, put all safety measures in place to ensure that level of safety and security, because, you know, on a weekend, these places are packed with individuals going out to have fun and party and so on. So I believe they must also do their due diligence in trying to ensure that the persons attending, you know, are safe. Right?
Okay. And in terms of what's happening now with traffic, the new school term, give us an idea of what we're looking at. School reopened yesterday. It's a new school term, new school year. We had 2 months, 8 weeks vacation, and the traffic was it was
acceptable.
Let's say you say acceptable.
So,
with school reopening now,
it's what I am urging motorists to do. They have to be mindful that, you know, things will go back to an extent where we, you know, drivers tend to get irritated on the road, seeing that the traffic piling up in Scarborough and environs. But what we are urging them to do is that be mindful that school reopen, and when they are passing through like school areas, to exercise a greater level of caution. All right. I also want to remind motorists that that area from the Collar Road going into the Anglican and the Methodist school.
Yes.
There is a traffic restriction between 7 to 9 and 2 to 4 p.m. You know, a lot of people get caught going through there and are ticketed by the police.
Yes.
So, you know, they must be mindful that because school is now reopened. It was a bit lax when school was closed, but now that the school term restarted, be mindful that you would be ticketed if you breach those restrictions going through that area.
No, you made mention of the fact that it was a bit laxed during the vacation period. Is it that even during the vacation period, school is out, no children on the compound, is that still in effect during the vacation period?
Really, it is. Nothing doesn't really change. It's just that, you know, in terms of enforcement, you know, it will be kind of, you know, seeing that no school and the police, you know, so the police, it was a bit lax. The police officers were not there as they usually would be, but now that school reopened, the police officers would be in that area. Yesterday, what I want to urge parents as well, to be mindful. Some of the children are going to high school now for the first time. And, you know, it's a new environment. You have to put things in place to ensure that your child gets from home to school safely. And you must be mindful as to who you allow to take your child to and from. Because, you know, the fact remains that there are predators out there as well.
Yes.
So you have to do your background checks. You have to do your due diligence in terms of who you leave your child with. And when your child returns home, also, you have a responsibility that child is left in the care of a responsible adult. Because you as a parent, you know, leaving your underage children unattended could put you in trouble as well. So we just want parents to be aware. Now, yesterday, as I said, the police would be out checking, visiting these schools to make sure that, you know, and interact with the teachers, principals, to ensure that all is well. Yesterday I was out and I noticed that in the Signal Secondary School, a number of students were outside and they were sent out of school because of not conforming with the school uniform rules, etc.
Day one of the school year.
Day one of the school year. And the police were out engaging them. The thing about it is that parents might have been taken, you know, by surprise with that. But parents also have to be mindful that the school has certain rules and regulations. Look what could have happened. These children outside of the school could have been wandering all about.
Right.
And parents have no idea what is taking place. Let me see, for instance, that the school couldn't reach on to some of them. Again, what they should do is put something in place also to ensure that in the case of emergency or situation like which occurred yesterday, that they will be able to be reached and to put some measure in place to pick up their children when situation like that occur.
So when scenarios such as this happens or occurs, what should be the reaction or response by the school? Okay, you're unable to contact the parents to say Tom is in breach of the school rules and regulations. It should be black shoes. He's wearing white shoes, or black shoes with a hint of white, because some parents tend to break the rules just a little bit, just enough to not be totally broken, but just enough. What should they do? Should the students still be let out of the compound? Should there be a holding bay area? So how should it work? Because as you mentioned, children are put out. Parents may not be aware. They can go left, right, center. They are at risk. What should be the responsibility?
I don't know what is the school policy, but what I know is when children arrive at school, it's a different responsibility for the school administration. So in a situation like that, I would advise that there be some place within the school that these children could remain until they are picked up. Right, because it's during school hours. So I'm saying that, in terms of mitigating against any harm coming to these children when they go outside of this during the school hours, and the parents may not be aware, I am just saying that it is my view that something should be put in place to have some area within the compound that they could remain instead of being let out. Because, sometimes they are let out and the parents are not contacted, just saying that, and something happens outside, the narrative will change then. You understand? So it's just a measure of safety. These are young people, especially some of them may be going to the school for the first time and they don't know their way around.
Right.
So I'm just saying extra care should be taken in situations like that. I'm not saying that the school might have let them outside. Could have been some other reason why they were outside. But I'm just saying, in terms of that, I think some sort of thing should be put in place to keep them within the compound until some responsible adult comes along to pick them up, etc.
All right, I want to ask you here about the community police. Are they still in operation? If so, at what schools? Do we have them at all of the secondary schools, primary schools, or only secondary schools?
Right, the community police visit all schools, right? As I say again, yesterday I was happy to see them out. Is in the same Signal Secondary School, and they visited other schools. So they are work in progress at saying that, they are aware as to what is taking place within the schools. Fortunately, within Tobago schools, we don't have the level of violence that we would see, coming out of Trinidad. So we are trying to be proactive in our approach, and I want to commend them for the steps they have taken so far. On day one of the school term, I'm seeing them around visiting the schools and so on. So that's commendable to our community police officers. So,
all right. And as we move forward, you did indicate a little earlier on that the police will be taking, as we spoke about the issue of the murder at the bar, the shooting at the bar, that the police will be doing their educational exercises in terms of speaking to. Will the police also be doing educational exercises or having educational exercises at the schools, speaking to the nation's young people, speaking to our students? We saw, within the last few years where there was a lot of violence at schools, a lot of fighting and the use of weapons. Some students, and I know that the MTS securities are doing their best with what they have, but still somehow, somewhere along the way, weapons are making their way into the school compound. What is the police going to be doing some educational exercises as well with our students in the schools?
The police have always been doing those, outreach programs within the schools, and that will continue. There will be no change to it. We may tweak it a bit, but in just letting you know that in going forward, They have started and they would continue to do that. What I know that was done is that some of the schools were identified. Those would be given more priority than others. You know, some of the schools, you will see some incidents coming out of those schools. I don't want to mention the names, but those schools, the police, we know who they are. So the police will use that opportunity to engage those schools in terms of priority and reaching out to give those outreach as to providing advice on how, you know, they could treat with these issues happening on the school compound.
All right. Well, Officer Kirk, your closing comments to our viewing public this morning.
I just want to thank the public for their support so far, and I want to urge them to continue to give that level of support. Tobago is where we live, and we must keep every place in Tobago safe. So I want to commend the Tobago public so far, and I want to urge them to continue to partner with us so that we can make this island a better place throughout Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for chatting with us this morning.
Thank you.
See something, say something, viewers. See something, say something. All right, and very quickly here, give us some contact numbers for, you know, should one need to contact the police service, give us some contact numbers.
The contact numbers, which you could call anonymous if you see something and you want to see something, 555 remains operative, 999-800-TIPS. If you want to engage like the Scarborough CID, 639-2515. Chevron Road Police, 639-8888. But the main numbers, which are anonymous, is, as I indicated, 800-TIPS, 555-999.
And if you need to contact the TTPS, you can always call 211. All right? Exactly. Thank you so much for chatting with us this morning. Always a pleasure having you on the program, giving us updates and as we move forward. Viewers, we want to thank you so much for joining us today. We thank you. Have a great day today. We're going to head on over to GMT. In fact, Tobago Notes and GMT this morning. So have a great day. Stay tuned. It's all happening here on the Tobago Updates Morning Show. So share the live, share the live, share the live. Bye-bye, everybody.
Tobago now has 25 UN Foundation's facilitators who are equipped to educate others about gender-based violence. They're also able to give guidance on preventative measures regarding gender-based abuse. Armed with their new skills, graduates are grateful to have participated in this UN Women Foundation's program Facilitators Training.
We looked at some of the cultural impacts of gender and how even our own society impacts how gender is seen. So we looked at the role of men and women, and even from a young age, the roles of boys and girls. Different things that are frowned upon with boys, frowned upon with girls. I think it was very important because a lot of times we look at gender-based violence on the surface, like thinking that someone is probably just angry with another person and acting out. But when you look at these kind of underlying issues, you realize that it's more deeper than just someone deciding to act out.
Previous set of buzzwords were reducing violence against women and girls. Before it became a gender thing that is now more all-encompassing, it started off as a movement towards reducing violence against women and girls. And as we did this work, it became globally clear that in order to treat with violence against women and girls, we've got to incorporate boys and men. This workshop allows us to equip potential facilitators to appropriately and comprehensively conduct gender and gender-based violence training in emotionally safe ways. This program is but one of the many gender-sensitive initiatives that the division continues to implement, many of which are centered on the holistic development of our country as we streamline and implement best practices monitored by gatekeepers of the National Policy on Gender and Development and the United Nations Development Programme Sustainable Development Goals 5 and 10.
The intent of the program is to nurture the abilities of positive change agents and increase the number of people who are able to eliminate gender-based abuse.
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
Supplies has been a leading name for over 37 years in the glass and aluminum market in Tobago. We provide an extensive range of high-quality, innovative aluminum and glass products for commercial and residential use. Competitive prices with superior and professional services by committed employees who are guided by rigid quality standards. Tobago Glass Supplies specializes in the manufacture and installation of glass and aluminum products that are essential to today's homeowners and the business environment. We are engaged in marketing, sales, and installation of a variety of products. These ranges from windows and doors to necessities such as mirrors for homes and vehicles, designed and manufactured in-house or imported.
Start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun. We are beaches, we are rivers, we are melanated ones.
Welcome to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, your source for current affairs in Tobago, Trinidad, and the region. With the perfect conversations to complement your morning routine, I am Candace Jackson, and let's get started with the news in 90 seconds.
The news in 90 seconds is brought to you by Flow, working for you on Tobago's newest fiber network.
The political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Assemblyman Watson Duke, has extended an olive branch to Chief Secretary Farley Augustine, an interim political leader of the Tobago People's Party. Duke called for reconciliation during a news conference at the PDP headquarters at the Port Mall. He expressed his commitment to peace and revealed that he had written to Augustine to initiate the process. Duke emphasized the importance of unity and working together for the common good of Tobago, stating that the division would not lead to success against the PNM. And two new boards were appointed yesterday. Secretary of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation, Tashia Burris, and Assistant Secretary Megan Morrison have officially inaugurated the newly appointed boards of directors for the Tobago Festivals Company Limited and the Tobago Performing Arts Company Limited. The TFCL board will be led by Chairman Cindy Lou Edwards and Deputy Chairman Mr. Gilbert Happy O'Connor, with 5 directors. The TPAC board is chaired by Mr. Binley Benjamin and Deputy Chairman Dr. Charleston Thomas and other directors. The boards aim to advance cultural and artistic development in Tobago. And finally, the judiciary has advised individuals to make cash payments for court-ordered maintenance fees and fines only at NLCB lotto booths to avoid delays in receiving payouts. This recommendation comes as the judiciary noted that cash payments made at lotto booths are typically received within 4 days, while payments to other vendors can result in time delays due to the reconciliation processes. Although the transition to NLCB has reduced some challenges, others persist. Until these issues are resolved, payers are urged to use NLCB lotto booths exclusively for cash payments. And that concludes your news in 90 seconds.
Tobago, after freeness is more speed and better TV. Get a free Samsung smartphone and free installation, plus 200 megabits per second, Paramount Plus, and more for only $299 with a select 200 plan from Flow. Visit online at discoverflow.co today.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, viewers. We are at this point in time standing by for our guests to arrive. But in the meantime, I mean, there's quite a lot happening in our space. That interview this morning, I don't know if you caught it, with Julian and Rhea on the morning show with Mr. Watson Duke was quite interesting. I mean, Mr. Duke, continues to issue these calls for good morning, caller. We have a caller online. Okay. So we are going to be opening the phone lines this morning. I'm sorry about that. Yes, just things a little bit crazy in here this morning, but it's all good. So as we get into the show this morning, I'm just letting you know that the phone lines are open. So if you would like to call in and just talk to any of the things within the space, whether it be Mr. Duke or what's been going on with the ferries and all those things, you can give us a call. And as I mentioned, the ferries, one of the things that we actually do have an update on is that there was a meeting that occurred yesterday with stakeholders, the business stakeholders like the chamber and so on, as well as the Port Authority. And they were able to work out a solution for the next little bit until the Cabo Star can come back on stream. Because as you know, the Cabo Star has been down for repairs as a result of a small fire on board. But they are awaiting the arrival of some parts and the recertification process to allow the vessel to be back out on the waters. As a result, the vessel is down and cargo between the islands has been a little bit challenged. But there is a little solution on board. They were able to work out something to get more of the supply trucks over to Tobago and perhaps alleviate the problems that we've been seeing, like empty shelves on the groceries, at the groceries and so on, just to make things a little bit easier for us here in Tobago. So, and hopefully, I mean, this is not supposed to be a long process. It shouldn't be longer than 2 weeks. But, I mean, the business community at least is comforted by the efforts made by the Port Authority, and the Port Authority obviously must be commended for their commitment to trying to work with the stakeholders to make sure that we can get some relief here in Tobago. Because unfortunately, we do have to wait for all our goods and so on to come from Trinidad. Anyway, so that's just a little bit of an update on what's been going on in the ferry. And so we wanted to also talk a little bit about what's new and this offering of an olive branch, so to speak. You know, Mr. Duke is very, he's very... It's just very interesting how the situation developed over the past year. It's definitely been a year since this whole thing went down. It started with the group that went to New York and that was stranded in New York without food, a place to stay. And Mr. Duke used that as a platform for him to publicly voice his concerns or his disagreements with Chief Secretary Fali Augustine and the current operations of the Executive Council. At a press conference yesterday, he did address some of those issues and said that, you know, it's actually a little bit more than just disagreements about, you know, how things are done or, you know, him not being able to access emergency funding for these people. So he said that at another point in time, he would give those details. But, you know, it's definitely an interesting turn of events. Now, we haven't received any word from Chief Secretary Fali Augustine as to whether or not he got those letters, because according to Duke, what he said yesterday as well is that he wrote Mr. Augustine 6 times. So hoping that, you know, he can get some bit of a response from him. But Mr. Augustine has not been able to, we haven't been able to get a response from him as to whether or not he did receive those letters and what his reaction to those letters are. And it'll be interesting to even hear from the members of the team. And what was another thing that he said this morning is that, his olive branch extends to the chief secretary, not necessarily the party, the TPP party and its membership and its supporters. So, we're not quite sure as to what Mr. Duke's intention. We know that he seems to be trying to, make his presence again known politically here in Tobago and trying to work towards, repairing some of the damages that were done to the PDP and making sure that it's a party that's viable again here within our space. Whether or not he would succeed, that's left to be seen. But he is going for it, and he believes very strongly in his commitment to the party and to his work here in Tobago. So he seems also very committed to being assemblyman for the Roxborough Argyle district. There were definitely some concerns because, as you know, Mr. Duke over the past few months has been campaigning in Trinidad because he, his party, the PDP, contested Port of Spain in particular. They contested actually several seats in Trinidad for the local government elections, but particularly Port of Spain. And Mr. Duke's goal was to perhaps become mayor. Now, he was not successful at that goal, at least at this time around. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, but, this time around, he was not successful. And it seems as though after that defeat, he came back to Tobago. Now, he says that he's going to continue spreading his rings in Trinidad and trying to work the ground in Trinidad, but so again, that's left to be seen. But it's very interesting what Mr. Duke said yesterday in regards to just what his intentions are with the chief secretary. He clearly seems to be hurt. He expressed that yesterday, that there was a whole lot that was said by Mr. Augustine, and that he felt slighted by, but he's willing to put all those things aside towards working together. Now, how will that work this time around? We don't even know. Not really entirely sure of all of Mr. Duke's intentions, but it is definitely interesting that 1 year later, Mr. Duke is extending that olive branch. So viewers, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we could open the phone lines again. Now the numbers are on the screen, so yeah, you could go ahead and call in after the break.
Rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks a favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000.
Mount Pleasant Credit Union present the Edgar Davidson Bursary Awards 2023. Awards available are SEA, CSEC, and CAPE. Tertiary, technical and vocational. Your requirements are complete the application form, student's performance report, or transcript. Applicants must be a member or a member whose child wrote an exam in 2023. Forms are available via our website or can be collected at our branch office. For further information, www.mpcutobago.com, marketing at mpcutobago.com, or call us 639-8902 or 8375. Deadlines for submission 15th of September 2023.
But this place is boring enough. We don't even do nothing. Let me go somewhere now.
I really want some new things, yes? Then look no further. Portmore is the place for you.
Oh, really?
Yes, you can have anything that your heart desires. Take a look for yourselves. A world of endless opportunities. Feeling hungry? Go get something to eat. Books and stationeries, games, and much more. Portmore, the island's beat.
summer. Dreamy, steamy, standard. What you have? What you have? All the best deals, no drama. Standard be beat like a hammer. Go tell your friend, tell your papa, tell your mama. We got more, we got more. Standards are what you're searching for. Quality brand, discounts galore. New things for the summer, online in store. Summertime is here, so make the most out of it at Standard. Never beating on quality and price. Ignite.
Jimmy's Holiday Resorts has 1, 2, and 3 bedroom, fully self-contained apartments located at the heart of Crown Point. Minutes walk to the popular beaches, restaurants, bars, and the airport. Enjoy our amazing amenities such as fully equipped apartments, complete with Wi-Fi, AC, TV, and a pool, and a mini-mart on the compound. Call 639-8292 or 8929. Jimmy's Holiday Resorts is your family's home away from home.
MI4 Security Services Company is the most advanced security service in Tobago. Ask about our cash and transit service. It's safe, risk-free, reliable, and timely. We provide safe banking delivery for all business types and sizes with highly trained staff, 24/7 monitoring, coordinated emergency response, and a well-maintained fleet of armored vehicles. Contact us at 660-7723 or visit our website at www.mi4securitytt.com to sign up today.
It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning. As the passion start to rise, the energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear my neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong. We are beauty, we are power, we are people in the sun.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates, viewers. Yes, we are having a conversation with you this morning, where you can join the call, make a call into our studios and give your opinions on this whole matter about Mr. Duke extending that olive branch to Chief Secretary Fali Augustine. Now, do you think that the Chief Secretary should accept this olive branch, or do you think that, it should be ignored? I don't know. What do you think about this whole new approach from Mr. Duke? So the numbers are on your screen to call. It's 284-6597, 284-6597. So, join in the conversation. Let us know how you feel, because this whole situation is very, very interesting after all that was said and done, because, and then we heard this morning that Mr. Duke saying that anybody who is an enemy of the PDP is a PNM, which is interesting as well. But, that's just, of course, Mr. Duke's opinion. And Mr. Duke continues to, hold strong and fast to his party. Now, one thing yesterday, he was asked as well about whether or not he would join forces with the TPP. However, he doesn't want to. He is willing to work with Chief Secretary Fali Augustine towards the betterment of Tobago and towards fulfilling those mandates that were campaigned upon under the PDP banner on the THE election campaign trail, and under the whole motto of family child by child, family by family, village by village, and there was a whole list of things that the party promised the people, promised the electorate that they would do if they gained office, and according to Mr. Duke, Mr. Augustine is not fulfilling those promises that he made on the campaign trail. So that all led to some of the falling out between Mr. Duke and Mr. Augustine that we saw, and had that made the way for a very rocky year. But it seemed as though, despite everything, that the TPP and the supporters of Mr. Augustine continued to rally behind him. And that's why we had the TPP coming into being. And now, Mr. Duke, after some time, he took some time. He spent in Trinidad campaigning for the local government elections, was not successful. And then we see him back here in Tobago, saying that, his intentions is to grow the party. He did some work over at his headquarters here, revamping it, making it accessible again to the public. And he says that, he's going to be more present in Tobago than he has been over the past few months and begin working the ground. Now, Mr. Duke did say it would be unforgivable if Mr. Augustine does not heed a call or does not, try to put their differences aside towards working together. And that's interesting. And he said that, he's going to continue quietly asking, and he's using the diplomatic route of that letter that he'll continue to do. And then afterwards, he'll see what happens. So he might, not be so nice afterwards. I think that was what he said. So just a whole lot happening within this space here with Mr. Duke and Mr. Augustine. That's just very interesting. So if you wanna join the conversation a little bit, add your perspective. Do you think Mr. Augustine should accept that olive branch from Mr. Duke? There's a whole lot about trust, whether or not Mr. Duke can be trusted, whether or not Mr. Augustine can be trusted. I mean, there's that conversation as well. So please give us a call at 284-6597, 284-6597, and you can join in the conversation as well. So that's just something that's happening. No, I actually questioned Mr. Duke a little bit yesterday as to what's going to be happening with Roxborough, Argyle. Last time Mr. Duke was there doing a public event, and that was on Labor Day, when Mr. Duke had a march through the community, and there was a lot of people there that did not really appreciate Mr. Duke, and they made it known that they consider him a traitor and so on. And we even saw that as well at the last special sitting of the House, where Mr. Augustine came out and made the claims about this whistleblower and so on. But we saw that there is some bit of animosity from residents in Roxborough towards Mr. Duke. And so he says that he's going to be there today, and we're going to see what happens. All right, so viewers, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be chatting with the Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, Mr. Zorisha Hackett. So don't go anywhere.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
So your car break down.
Oh, no, not again.
And you're worried paying a wrecker could mean a pocket breakdown too. But when you're insured with Tatil, no stress.
Yes!
A Tatil motor policy has lots of benefits that protect your pocket, like free roadside assistance. That's free 24/7 every time, as many times as you need. Tatil, where people are people. A member of the Ansa McCall Group.
Tapicom. Welcome to the future. The only card you will need in a new world. Digital business cards. Safe, hassle-free. The future is here. Tapicom. New generation digital transfer. Digital time clock cards. Digital attendance cards. Air tags. Customized designs. Digital clothing tags. Digital pet tags. Tapicom. The future is here. Contact us today.
Inner Health, number 13B Portmore, Scarborough, Tobago, with over 25 years experience offering services in and not limited to microscopic blood analysis, reflexology, and the sale of a wide range of organic herbal products used to supplement thyroid, lymphatic, heart, kidney, and brain health, and the male and female reproductive systems. Come and chat with us. Remember, your health is your wealth.
Tobago glass.
Yeah. Hey. Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. We are being joined by the Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, Ms. Zorisha Hackett. And we kind of got a little bit caught off guard. I'm not sure what happened. Right, there we go. That's what's supposed to be happening this morning. Like I said, it's a very interesting morning.
Yes.
All right.
Oh
So
my
good
gosh.
morning and welcome to
Morning.
you, Miss Hackett. How are
Good morning. Great. Did the single mommy thing this morning, and you know how that goes, right?
All right.
Yeah.
Now, we had schools reopen yesterday, but it didn't all go well. I mean, there was a couple of schools that had some issues. I mean, well, we knew ahead of time that Paltavere Anglican Primary School was not going to open. They're not going to open until Wednesday.
Yes.
But we saw what was going on. I mean, there was a little protest there at Scarborough Secondary.
There was a little protest.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So, I mean, what can you tell us about, just what happened in terms of making sure the schools were ready for school?
So let's start with our infrastructure. We have aging infrastructure in the Tobago space, just as we do nationally. Yeah? And so in any given school repair program, we'll never get it right. We'll never get it all done. And this year in particular, the challenges, I like to focus on the positives, but let's speak about the challenges. The challenges came in the direction of procurement as well. And so the decision had to be made. Do we continue organizing that migration to the depository, have contractors get on board, or do we not have a school repair program in the true essence of that?
No, I want to actually spend some time on those issues because, see, we got the idea that things were going to go good, everything was going to be all right, but you guys were faced with challenges.
You mean the general public?
Yes.
Yeah, because of course, after last year and all the work we had to do, as it relates to coming out of COVID, you're better prepared. You know what went wrong, and you're trying to, of course, organize yourselves in a different direction to ensure that you're structured and you get going from the day after school closes. And so, yes, all of that happened. All the preliminary scopes were done, all the organizing to get the contractors on board and so on. And then we realized, listen, with this new OPR, we have a challenge where contractors and getting their paperwork done. We're just not getting that number of persons to be able to come into the tendering process.
So let me ask you, was it Tobago contractors that was able to be part of the school repair program?
Yes, they were.
So there was some that succeeded.
Yes.
But when did that happen?
Right. We had a really, really long process of getting them on. So closer to July, ending August, you saw more of them coming into that depository. And of course, with your procurement officers having to check to ensure all the paperwork was correct and so on. But more than that, Candice, we have had some challenges as well with transportation of material between Trinidad and Tobago. And that has been another issue. I didn't highlight it because I felt as if, listen, all the issues we have surrounding us in this space and the negatives, we know what happens. We know what happened with transportation over this period. But I wanted us to focus on the positives. And so in that time frame, we looked around in the space and we said, you know what, let's do something a bit differently this year. Let's get E-ITCOT on board. We saw the amazing job they did with the Commonwealth Games, and we felt as if we needed more manpower and greater management of the program. And because we're moving towards routine maintenance, we said, listen, we are going to organize this in different tiers. We're going to deal with priorities as it relates to health and safety concerns, electrical, plumbing, general security of the compounds, and so on. And then we're going to move into general upkeep and maintenance. And those works, we agreed, will continue throughout the term. Obviously, with OSH and all of that on board, you would not want to do that heavy-duty work with students on the compound. And so we arranged it into what can safely happen on afternoons, what should be put aside for weekends, and what we can do in that Christmas break and beyond. And so with all of that organizing of the work, we agreed what will happen when, which schools we're going to focus on, which we're going to put on the back burner for now and, attempted to get it done before the 4th of September. Things happen. And again, I brought the transportation issue into the challenge. So once we got those contractors on board and legally completed the process, then they started. And then you had the issues. Cabo start down, getting the material up, and then because we had a limited number of contractors this year, because they're still not on board, you have one contractor on 3 or 4 different schools. That's the challenge when you have a new system. Everybody's not on board. So for instance, the quantity of contractors we had last year on that PCO, that Tobago pre-qualified list, they're still not on board with the OPR. And so with one contractor, let's just say with 6, 7 packages, you can understand in terms of manpower, material, and general management of the project, what will happen there. And so we trusted E8COT to take the process to a place of at least a sense of normalcy for students to get back out there on the fort. And just with any master plan, some things may not go according to plan. And so that's what happened. And so yes, up until, let's say, Saturday midnight, we knew for sure Palliative Anglican would not reopen. And then we ended up with some issues by Monday morning. We didn't have water in a school. We had some tiles we expected to be replaced and dried and so on, not ready. Then we had some cleanup issues as well in other schools, because that's the thing. If you go all the way to, that point of reopening, then you have to think about securing the plant, cleaning up that plant, and ensuring that teachers and students can get back in that school in a safe and secure environment. So some other decisions had to be made on spot yesterday. Yesterday was a crazy busy day because we had to make some determinations, and you don't want to go back out there and say, all right, we're reopening Wednesday, and we're not certain, and we have the public confused as to, so we had to make some clear and direct decisions as it relates to reopening about 2 or 3 schools that could not open yesterday.
Now, I understand wanting to share some of the positives that happened during July-August vacation, but part of transparency is being transparent about the good and the bad.
Yeah.
So why not?
But there must be a balance.
Yeah. Yes, there must. I agree there must be a balance. But then why not share the challenges that you're facing? Yes, you are trying to get this done, trying to do a better job than last day and ensuring that the schools are ready. But why not at least share the challenges with the public so the public is actually aware and they understand that you are actually trying your best?
When you said share the challenges with the public, what do you mean?
In terms of the procurement, what was going on with the new process that everybody had to conform to ensure that they can legally access the contracts and so on.
Candace, I don't believe in doom and gloom, and I am a forever optimist. I saw what E8COT was able to do with Commonwealth. I saw it. We prioritized the projects. So we knew we were not going to do a lot of civil works, and that was made clear early. As a matter of fact, that was the focus in last year's school repair program, civil works, so the cement and steel works. This year, based on what we prioritized, we did not envision getting to the fort based on the structure, getting to the fort and not being able to reopen. The thing about schools, and it happened with about 3 or 4 schools, you go in to replace, galvanize, 3 or 4, and by the time you remove it, you're seeing corrosion. You're seeing a ceiling that's an issue. You remove one thing and you're seeing that there are termites beneath. You change one tile and you're realizing it's not level again and you have to change all. You deal with some plumbing issues and realize that the pump is a challenge. So variations is always a challenge. And because we know what the variations looked like last year, we were very, very cautious. Again, with our scoping, always leave room for that. And so I am telling you that, let's just say when they started those works, whenever they started it, probably early August in some instances, and as the scopes were sent out and contractors got on board, incrementally, we progressed the project. You're looking at what you have in front of you. Okay, we have some plumbing works to do at Mount St. George Methodist Primary. Let's see. But when you go in there, you realize, listen, we also have to change the toilet bowls. We also have to change these sinks. These sinks, they're not attached to the wall as they should be. Or because it's infants, they're too high, and things become apparent as you go. But what it also speaks to is the role of a handyman on a school compound. We have handymen there, and some of the issues that we're having contractors come on board to treat with, in my opinion, should be dealt with in a routine way by our handymen. And that's a conversation we need to have with the union. That's a conversation we need to have with the daily paid cadre and that support system around them, and get into that whole idea of productivity.
Yes.
Yeah? Because, we went on some compounds yesterday, and simple things as power washing or cutting the grass in front, general minor upkeeps, if I must say so myself. We have to have contractors coming in for that. And so this is a conversation we need to have as a Tobago people on productivity and general work efficiency, and understanding the value you must add to your workplace. So that's a conversation we need to have, as I said. And the administrator and myself, we decided that we're going to have that checker and the person responsible for the handyman to understand, and it should not just be a sitting around the table and having a conversation. Let's do a road trip. Let's actually go on the ground and, you have a look at the day-to-day operations, because our principals have been having a really hard time with our handymen. And yes, we want to promote employment, and we want to promote the fact that, you're going to have different tiers of education and experience, and we should be able to at least have persons feel as if they're contributing positively to society, but they must also understand their role in the general upkeep of this Tobago space. And so we have to attend to that. Yeah.
So, how soon can we see that conversation happening? Because that maintenance, even throughout the school year, is so important.
I agree. So there has to be a general conversation, because we've been having the complaints in the different divisions as it relates to daily rated workers. And we need to have them understand that a mindset shift has to happen. Right? So yes, we've had challenges with being able to utilize washroom facilities and so on. So your working hours are shorter than usual. But in the schools, that is not really the challenge. But the mindset is I'm daily rated, so I spend an hour or two and I go home. We have some principals who are able to manage their handymen really well. Again, mindset and culture shifting needs to occur. But the general ideology is it's a morning walk, and you do it and you get home. I also want to, with positives here, commend the principals who have been able to manage their handymen, and you're seeing those schools are the better kept schools, because the handymen understand their role, that they're valued, and that they play, in terms of general upkeep, the role they play, and limiting the expenditure of the division as a result of that. But Candice, we have a lot of work to do as it relates to productivity on this island. I saw the complaints coming from the division of infrastructure. I saw it coming from ComDev as well. And so, yes, we have the challenge in education, and that conversation is going to begin in the division of education. Because when we look at our financial challenges, the constraints we have, especially coming to the end of a financial year, and that's the thing, a school repair program at the end of a financial year, when that's where most of your funds are depleted, then you're going to always have a management issue of your funding. You always have to ensure that with approximately $33 million in DP and your school repair program coming at the end of that financial year, where DP treats with your financial assistance, your planning schools program, all those project-based items. When you get to the end of a financial year and your school repair is a major project, you have to see if you can be fiscally prudent and ensure that you have everything needed to have a successful program, while managing what you have in terms of routine maintenance, where the handymen must play a major role, in my opinion.
Have you been having the conversations with tutor? Because we saw tutor come out. They say even though that they understand some of the challenges that you are faced with, their issues is that we seem to always be in a situation where we start the school year, no matter what the administration is, we start the school year, and schools always have an issue.
Well, tutor has to do what tutor has to do. I understand the positioning of tutor. They represent the teachers. I was once on that side, being represented by tutor. And so I commend them for their advocacy. But the reality is, again, 57 schools are under the division's purview. There's 69 schools in the Tobago space. And so we lend some support to the government-assisted and even those that are private, just ensuring that Tobago has schools in top-notch position. You have 3 breaks in an academic year, the July-August period being longest period. You have $33 million for DP, not the school repair program. And I don't know if you can remember, the school repair program costed us $42 million last year. So you have $33 million for your entire DP, but school repairs, because of coming out of COVID, I think that was extraordinary last year, with 2 years down, and once you don't have plants being maintained, you know what would happen? And so that has set us back, because we were still paying off those bills even leading into this school repair program, and that's the reality. And you will never be able to do everything in every school in a school repair program, even if you attempt routine maintenance. Again, because the money does not equate to what needs to be expended, yeah? And so what we do, we have to prioritize. And I can speak to Scarborough Sec, for instance. We have a struggle there. You have to ensure health and safety in the old plant, while you have to put aside to begin building the new plant. And for every dollar spent in maintaining the old plant, that could have been $1 spent on beginning construction, or at least clearing that property and fencing and, getting the project management started in the new plant. And so my challenge in this regard with tutor is because this division, and I can attest to that, this division of education through this current administration and that administrator that we have there have been having constant open dialogues with tutor. There has not been a challenge in terms of communication and in terms of setting the record straight and being very real with what the challenges are. And that's why they can speak to it. They actually have, direct information as to what the challenges are. But tutor also has to be fair in expressing what has been done. School closed on the 7th of July, and probably if you passed by Scarborough Sec on the 8th, 9th, you would have seen scaffolding going up on that sixth form block, because as you would remember and appreciate, we had to relocate the sixth form to that UE Distance Education Center up there at Signal Hill. And the principal advocated strongly that she wanted an entire student population in one place. Your sixth formers are your prefects, and so they help with management of your plant, yeah? And so, in fulfilling that wish, we had to ensure that that spot, that block that the sixth formers were in had to be ready. And again, that was one of the challenges we had. We went in to treat with the ceiling and then realized we had a roof issue. And the health and safety issues must come first. And while the health and safety issues are coming first, there, you're getting that advocacy for the new school at the same time, And so it's always, a way forward in one direction and then you're going back in another, and the constant back and forth just can't continue. We need to set it straight. Listen, we need to build a new school. We can spend all the money in the world on that Shore Park plant. It's just not feasible to continue investing that much on an old plant. It's 62 years old. And we've always had challenges there. Location, proximity to the sea. There's a water shed somewhere there. We have some underground water issues, erosion, just everything. And so I spoke to the Tutor Tobago officer a little before I saw that letter circulating to parents to keep their children away from school. And the challenge that I had immediately was that part of the letter that spoke to not being able to communicate with the division. So I convened a meeting on the 7th of July, and that meeting was supposed to feature the PTA. And we sat for an hour and a half or so, and the PTA did not show up. The principal was there, and I had my team there ready for us to have the conversations right before the school repair program, of course, so we can speak to prioritizing. We can't deal with the aesthetics and the beautification of a plant that's aged and deteriorating. Let's speak to health and safety issues. Let's speak to ensuring fire extinguishers are operational, that we have a well-functioning PA system. So if we have to do evacuation, that can be done well. Let's speak to securing your fence line. And we've had a challenge with the fence line that's close to the sea that constantly erodes, the land constantly erodes there. Yep. And every now and again, you have to pull in that fence line. Pretty soon, we may have to condemn that entire back gate, And let's speak to, of course, on that, I'm calling it the western end, where you're looking from the bakery and the car wash and licensing and so on. Let's speak to that. They did not come. The principal tried to communicate with them in that meeting, and I guess it was too late for them to come to the meeting. We spoke, PTA president and myself, Scarborough Secondary School's PTA president and myself spoke at length. Was it on Sunday? And we realized there was some communication mix-up. I don't know what happened, but they did not come, right? And I spoke to Mr. Roberts, as I said before that letter was there, and I said, Mr. Roberts, if one of the issues is the fence line, let me put it on record. The fence line is priority for the division. I can let you know comfortably that if the CEO of E8 Court had a checklist, that wasn't probably top, if not second on that checklist. Plymouth Anglican School, there was a challenge we had with ceiling caving in at Roxborough Secondary, and they also have some railing issues just as Plymouth Anglican, and securing Scarborough Sec's fence line. When we spoke, I told him, I said, listen, you saw how committed, dedicated, and efficient E8 Court is. You saw them opening for the first time a facility in Blackrock in, record time, and you saw them reopening facilities around the island. And, we understand that they're good for it. What happens if on the weekend before school reopens, that fence goes up? I don't want it to be placed on record that a protest made defense go up.
Yeah.
Defense is a priority. What happens if by Saturday night or Sunday morning, defense goes up? Is it that we're going to lose contact hours for a school that has lost so many contact hours in the last academic year? We had some rotations having to happen. We had, as I said before, sixth form having to go up to Signal Hill. And for a period in time, a class in, a class out. It was crazy. They did not even reopen in the first week of school last academic year, you know? And so to prove a point is good if who you're trying to prove it to isn't aware, or if the public isn't aware. But the public knows that Scarborough Sec has always been a challenge. And the public also knows that the Division of Education now, in this administration called Research and Technology, has always invested heavily on Scarborough Secondary School. The challenges will always come. And so I asked him, what do we do if by Monday defense is up and whatever other issues are being worked on? You know, you don't need to prove a point to a secretary who has labored in the vineyard with the same school. I spent 9.5 years there as a teacher, also experiencing the challenges of an aging plant. So it's not to prove a point to me or the division. It's already a priority. And just as I said, by Sunday evening, defense was going up and they knew why. Same procurement challenges and so on. And we had to go down to the wire, no pun intended, right? With the issues we had there. Yeah. And so let's focus on ensuring that when the students get there, the teachers are in class, they're comfortable, they're mentally in that space they need to be, that the students make the most of the opportunities given there, that value is added after 5 years, and we can speak to the success stories there while advocating for that new school and while understanding that we have to have some balance. Because we're going to spend the next 5 or 6 years focusing on renovations and repairing and refurbishing an old school when we need to be going to Bacalet. And I also want to say this, it's a pity that the previous administration, instead of spending upwards of $40 million on property, when the Tobago House of Assembly already had vested in it, property, very close proximity to that space that they were going to invest in, they did not use that $40-something million in beginning the new school. Let's take the conversation there. Because if we're speaking about it, we inherited a promise from another administration. Yes. And we came in and after feasibility studies were done, geographical tests were done and so on, we have some drainage issues there. And you don't want to move from where you're having erosion issues and sea blast issues and so on to one where you're now faced with drainage and flooding issues.
And we're going to get into a bit more of that when we come back after the break. But okay, we have to take a break right now. All right, so viewers, don't go anywhere.
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago.
You can now get whatever you need whenever you need it anywhere in Tobago with Tobago. Your meals, medication, groceries, and shopping all delivered directly to you. No more hassle, no more stress. Get the Tobago app today on Google Play or Apple App Store.
That's TAPPOGO and let us deliver to you.
Check our website at www.tapogo.app or call the experts at 494-TOGO and 484-4746. Tobago. Relax. We will get it to you. Tobago's at your service.
Welcome back to Good Morning Tobago on Tobago Updates. Viewers, yes, we are back. Yes, thanks to my wonderful production team for queuing me in. All right, so we are continuing our conversation with the Secretary of Education, Research and Technology, Ms. Orisha Hackett. And we were talking about what was happening with Scarborough Sec. So Just moving past what happened in the previous administration in terms of finding that location for the school, because we know the challenges in terms of, there was one location and there were, when the geotests were done, there were all these issues pointed out. And of course, we didn't want to end up in a situation similar to where we are right now.
Correct.
So what's the update in terms of progressing on the construction of the new school?
Right. So again, we want to engage E8COT to help us project manage. And we've been looking at the best model for that construction. What we realized, based on us attempting to engage the Caribbean Development Bank, is that the school we want, we're calling it a smart school, the school we want for Tobago, is a school that's going to cost us upwards of $350 million. As a matter of fact, I think that first budget estimate was $500 million. It's a major investment, yeah? And so, of course, as a Tobago House of Assembly with $300 million as your annual TV across the THA, a school of $350 million at least is a Herculean feat to accomplish. And so the Minister of Finance intervened and spoke to the Tobago House of Assembly having challenges repaying a debt such as that one with the CDB, and they would be the ones to facilitate the finances of that school.
So if I understand clearly, the central government
Yes.
would provide us a separate...
That's the commitment that they gave. Yeah, commitment. That's the commitment they gave. Of course, you know how those commitment goes. And what I do not want, and I've spoken to the Chief Secretary about it, is for this to become almost like you're dangling a political carrot, waiting for an election bell to ring and then promising this with your new term. All right? And so I am thinking if that was a commitment made, we've had one budget pass already and we're about to enter into another budget presentation. We don't want to wait until the end of a term because, as you would appreciate, we may have two elections, one behind the other, yeah? And so if that's the commitment, we want to see the commitment now. Let's begin, the process. And so we as a THA, we can't take the rein to flan corner, proverbially. We have to start finding ways of making this thing happen and not waiting for an election year for us to now try to run around the figuring out how to make this dream a reality. What I also want to speak to is the fact that we have to be mindful that even if a school begins tomorrow morning, Candice, it's not going to be completed in a year, probably two. I mean, we can be hopeful. I've been looking at how long it takes for our schools to be built. I looked at what happened with Goodwood, Pentecostal Light and Life, Speyside, and Mason Hall. But let's say, if we have to give a good estimate, let's say a 2-year period. Right now, while we're there at Shore Park, as I said before, the health and safety issues must take precedent. And we also must be mindful that we need to give that student and staff population hope. We need to give the parents hope as well. And they need to understand that we have not been languishing with the commitment. As I said before, inherited, but the Tobago House of Assembly, whether who is in office, needs to take upon the responsibility. Right. And so, as I said before, one of the immediate things we did was to say, listen, we're about to make this major investment. Is this particular piece of property in Bacalet on that end, I'm calling it the Bacalet Gardens end, because where we're building is the Bacalet Park end, yeah? Further away from the sea. And so, is this the best property to make such a major investment? And we immediately realized, no, it was not. It was not. Every stakeholder had a concern. We looked at it in the heavy rainfalls last year, challenges, and we immediately knew that that was not, the best place to make that investment. And so the Chief Secretary, who's responsible for properties, immediately vested land on the Bacalet Park end to the Division of Education via Executive Council Minute. And we have that, around 29 acres already vested in the Division of Education to be allocated to the rebuilding or new construction of the Scarborough Secondary School. So that's a commitment that we've already fulfilled. What should be happening next is a nice sign saying proposed site. And all these are necessary to demonstrate.
So that's going to be coming very soon.
Very soon. But more than that, Candice, you don't want to be in a position where you just keep giving people hope and then not actually seeing the thing being materialized, yeah? And so we made the decision to, after the school repair program, you know, it is getting to a stage where we're pulling away from it and now going back into routine maintenance, which I'm going to say probably the end of the month to get those weekend afternoons and weekend works completed. We're going to have another sit down. That was also communicated to PTA and to principal, alumni association as well, because they're advocates, strong advocates.
Certainly.
Yeah? And so I don't want to be that politician that makes empty promises. I don't believe in it. As I said before, I was actually there with teachers advocating for a new school. I always make the joke, I have a battle scar. Took some stitches falling down on some broken tiles in the school, and you know, it was really an awful experience. Not the only teacher
And I mean,
at that.
I mean, some pictures of. I know you have some images of some of the
Works.
repairs that were done.
General repairs across the board.
And
in our
this is at
51
where?
of our 57 schools. This is Signal Hill Secondary School. We're building a grease trap. They never had one, you know. And so that's the thing. There's some schools that never had some basic amenities to ensure that they were functioning well. And so this started probably 2 weeks ago. It's complete now, but you're seeing them working into the night here to get it done. And listen, you have a secretary who is a stickler for getting things done and getting them done well. And so these persons responsible for managing these projects, listen, they probably used to see my number and be like, oh my God, why is this woman nagging us? But as a teacher, you understand the value of ensuring that you get back into school on the first day and all is well. You don't want to come back to the issues you faced before. So we've worked really hard. Let me see, so many schools and so many projects, and they're moving very quickly. But just general ideas of the type of work, because I think the public needs to appreciate the fact that we worked so hard from the day the school gates close, from getting the scoping to the procurement process, to awarding the contracts, you know, to the contractors getting the materials. And then, as I said, this year, you have one contractor with 3, 4, 5 packages because the other contractors were just not getting on board quickly, which by next year, we hope the entire year is going to motivate them enough to say, listen, we can't miss out on this. This is where small, medium contractors actually shine. You know, they get these projects, the packages are varying in range, and they have the ability to actually give back. And because we had always promoted this community engagement, where you look within an electoral district first for the contractor before moving outwards, you know, it's a really good opportunity for contractors to get that much needed experience. So yeah, you just saw Scarborough 6 fence line. Let's call that the western end, going up there. And just as promised, we didn't need anybody to push us in the direction of doing this. This has always been on the front burner for us. That's Mount St. George Methodist Early Childhood there that you just saw there, doing some works there. And I mean, it's either we're doing the thing well or not. It's either we're understanding as a public that these schools are aged. They're aging. They weren't all building. The most recent school we had in the space was the Scarborough RC, and you're already seeing how much we had to invest in maintaining that one. So it's a routine, constant maintenance, which I don't think has been the focus of the THA, and we have to now move towards that. If you routinely maintain your plants, then the investment to be made in any school repair program is going to lessen. So yeah, I think this is the Mount St. George. Yeah, this is Mount St. George Primary, Methodist Primary here. Health and safety, again, you treat with your tiles. If you have broken tiles, you take them up, you replace them. So just a lot of work that occurred in about 3 weeks.
Now, when we look at all the things that need to be done, we understand very clearly. And even we hear this from the Ministry of Education side, because we know that the schools in Trinidad also face their challenges.
Four schools couldn't open and several others, so it's national.
It's a national issue. Yeah. Now, one of the suggestions coming forward from TUTA, and they've been very consistent about this, is why not involve the business community? And to involve the business community is to at least let them know what needs to be done, when and where. I mean, give them an idea of how they can even partner to alleviate some of these challenges.
Let me tell you, why not involve the business community? The secretary has been doing that. I don't know if you followed sometime last term, Royal Bank partnered with the division and we repainted Plymouth Anglican School. And we have had several other banks doing the same and several other business proprietors doing the same. That's not, in my opinion, that's not a challenge. We've always had that. What I want to challenge is the alumni associations and even the PTA coming on board, and especially in the denominational schools that are government assisted, coming on board to assist the Division of Education with a $33 million budget. We have in any given community persons who are tradesmen. They're skilled, and you can volunteer, especially if you're a parent or you understand the plight of the school, you can volunteer services. Let me tell you, it is so much easier for a parent or any skillsman who wants to volunteer their services to get something done than we run an entire procurement process. Sometimes just to power wash a schoolyard, you have to tender that out. I can't handpick a contractor and say, go and give me a little power wash in there as a politician. You understand? And the division also has to be very mindful of engaging private persons when we have a procurement process. But what can happen is a strong PTA advocating for the business community, even the same tutor, even your alumni associations, all coming on board because we all share the same goal. We all have the same common mission. And so, yes, it should not always be left up to the division. I have so many ideas where we can partner with alumni associations and PTA to get things done. Let me give you an example. School buses. When you go to other jurisdictions, you see schools with buses with their names on them, parked on the compound, probably with the ministry providing the drive and the upkeep. Yeah? We have alumni associations, and I'm speaking because I'm a part of one myself. We have alumni associations getting out there and doing all these nice activities, bringing that camaraderie and all of that there. Let's have alumni association saying, the division, listen, we're going to bring this and you bring that and let's get a school bus. It's going to limit the overall cost we spend on transportation and the fact that, you know, we have a lot of sporting and cultural activities where students move from one side of the island to the next. Even with the transportation service, we want to provide for after-school programs, cadets and all of that. You have the buses leaving by 3:15, 3:30, the latest. And so many students are unable to stay back and participate in the, as I said before, cadets, cultural activities, sporting activities. So we need more stakeholders on board. The reality is this Division of Education or any other division just can't do everything. In this space, we're very ambitious. We want to. I know my team. We wish we could, but it's just the reality. How do you balance that? TP.
Are you also putting out there what needs to be done, or just areas, let me say, like that simple idea of the buses for individual schools, you know, being like, you know, this is what we want to do. We want to provide buses. Let's see how the business, invite the business sector to come on board with doing those things.
Right. So one of the plans when we rolled out this new strategic plan for the division was to find a way to involve Tobago more. And one of the things we wanted to do, and I am saying wanted to because, of course, lots of things occurred in this space to distract Secretary of Education. Secretary of Education is focused and realized that the distractions will come once you're in the seat of governance. And so we are going to ensure the Tobago public comes on board. Listen, we have $33 million for DP. This is what happens with the $33 million. We're always going to be at deficit. We're always going to need more. We want to focus in any fiscal year on X. So while we're focusing on X, we need you to jump on board with Y and Z. But let's not let you do it alone. We're going to give you the start. But we also have to ensure that we do that in a legal way. And we also have to ensure that once we do it, these associations, organizations, agencies wouldn't want anything in return, because that's what usually happens. Voluntarism has to be voluntarism. If you're sponsoring, you're funding, you're assisting, it has to be that. No strings attached. And we have to get that right. Again, the intention is to have more stakeholders on board. And we have to all understand that this is our Tobago. It's our education sector. And for every student that comes out of this a success, it's Tobago that wins in the end. Yeah, and so the conversations will happen. I have a very passionate technical advisor, Miss Anne Natasha Second. Passionate. She understands the way the thing works. And because she's traveled so much and understands even how you get this grant funding and so on, we have a really, really solid plan for how to get private Tobago on board. But private Tobago also has to be honest with us and let us know what they can do, what they can't, and for us to all find ways to make the thing happen. And so, yes, Candice, you're going to get a lot of that coming from us. As I said before, I'm not into the promise making. And what I've learned really early in this game called politics is the less you say while you're working on it, the better for you. You should be at a point where you declare it to the world where it's almost, at a point of fruition. I've realized that a lot goes wrong. A lot goes awry when you make these plans, and people hold you to your word when you say by X date this is going to happen. And so I've been very mindful of that. I've been working in silence a bit more, but it's also very important to balance that with clear and effective communication with the public. They must know this thing is in train.
Yes.
I may not be able to tell you the end date, but I can tell you that it's in train, and we need more hands on deck. And we need you to also be understanding that while this is happening, this may not be able to happen, or it may be able to be it may happen, but in a limited basis. And so that has been the challenge.
Is that one of the things that's affecting what's happening with the Tobago-centric curriculum that you campaign
No, it's not.
so much on?
It's not one of the things. As a matter of fact, the Tobago-centric curriculum has been one of the things we've been working on a bit. I don't want to say in silence with this one, because obviously if you're bringing a committee together, then that committee is going to be there in the space trying to get the information and so on. But Tobago-centric curriculum is for sure, I can tell you, not a 1 year, not a 2 year, not an overnight thing. Tobago-centric curriculum means even pulling content together, training teachers, changing mindsets, having persons understand, listen, it's not as if we're straying away from national, because, as you would appreciate, we still would have to do that placement exam at Standard 5, and then, of course, what happens at Form 5 and 6 with CSEC and GAPE. But eventually, even those we can question. You know what I mean? But to get to that point, we have to do a lot of background work. When I envision Tobago-centric curriculum, I'm speaking to our linguistic components, how we appreciate the language and the fact that we have a continuum, Creole continuum, and we have to call it, in my opinion, we have to call it as if we have two languages. We have this English-based Creole, of course, right, with West African substrate and British superstrate coming together to be able to give us what we call Tobago twang. Yeah? And students have to understand that is not broken English and you're now, trying to fix up your English. No, you actually spoke that as your vernacular, your first language. And then you come to school in the formal education system and you learn standard English. And so even that mindset is going to have us appreciate what goes into teaching English language arts, creative writing at the primary level, and then English language and literature when you get to secondary.
But where are we in terms of
committee
making
stage,
that happen?
Committee stage. So we're looking now, and the Executive Council is assisting me with that. We're looking now at pulling the great minds together. Who is going to be the best person to represent Tobago if we build out a committee as it relates to politics? We could immediately say probably a Hochoy Charles. Who can be the best person as a historian? Who could be the best linguist on that team? Who could be the best person that helps us with financial management? Who is the best TVET and skills training person? Who is the best person to assist us with agriculture and food security? And so every division is going to recommend, of course, through the Executive Council, recommend persons who we want to see on that team. And of course, you would always need curriculum-based persons to be able to help us manage that. What would this look like on any given school timetable? Is it going to be a double period in secondary schools where we call it Tobago Studies? And then in that session, we rotate the components or elements of the Tobago Studies. Is it going to be a subject in its own right where we have the actual content, almost like how social studies would give you this full package of different elements and we go through that? Is it going to be only in the primary school? Should we start it at, secondary school? Should we start it at primary? Should we take it all the way down to ECCE and come up with it? Do we do it as a pilot project first? You know what I mean? So lots of conversation goes into it. But it's one of the areas we should not rush. We should ensure that we do all the groundwork for it, all the consultation, have these conversations, but it must begin. And it begins with a committee doing the background work, eventually taking it to policy stage with consultations occurring at the same time, and Tobagonians just understanding what we're, taking this, where we're taking it, and what we want to achieve from it. It's not just a buzzword and trendy Tobago-centric curriculum, and you don't understand the objective of it. So those are the conversations we're having. And we're going to keep Tobago abreast with that because this is going to be groundbreaking. I think because we have not really pushed the envelope as a THA with the responsibility vested in Act 40 of 1996 as it relates to education being priority and being a responsibility, and curriculum as well. We've never done that. So anything that takes us or deviates us a bit from national policy is going to be groundbreaking, and we have to ensure that when we do it, we get it right. We can't mess up there. We can't make mistakes there. This is the future of our children we're talking about. So yes, Candice, be very excited. That is coming. And when it comes, all of Tobago would be on board, and all of Tobago would understand where we were and where we need to be, because the process is going to be an inclusive one.
So, you are putting together the committee right now.
Yes.
And we can help.
I am actually going to let Tobago know who the members of the committee are when that committee is there. You're going to all, have make some suggestions as well, because we already have some persons in mind, but we may not know. There may be some persons in diaspora even physically may not be able to be here on the committee, but can contribute virtually, So that is going to be something that Tobago is going to be aware of. You're going to see the faces of the persons, and recommendations can also be made for, who would be a good fit. We didn't think about this person, and we need some youth faces in that committee as well. That's the thing. I think we always circumvent around our youth, and you need a youth voice. You need persons to be able to say, listen, when I'm in a classroom, I don't want anybody lecturing me about the history of Tobago just by reading off from a history book. Let's have some reenactments, let's have some more, dramatic and performing arts into the thing. And so there are going to be some young persons on that committee, but it's going to be a valuable committee with a really, really important task to take us into that place where the social context, socioeconomic context of Tobago is placed at the fore of education.
And we're certainly looking forward for that because, like I said, that was an idea that so many people talked about.
Yes,
everybody.
I remember my first interview here when I spoke to it, persons, it made headlines. I remember in that first mandate Monday we did as well. Yes. The national media came on board because the questions came. If it's Tobago-centric, would they still be doing the SCA exam? Would CSEC and CAPE still be components of assessment? It became a national conversation. And so, yes, that is an area we have to focus on. And we definitely want to ensure that it's one of the legacies of this administration. And so, yes, we are working on it, Candice.
All right. So we're looking forward to seeing it.
Yes.
Definitely looking forward.
I know you're passionate about it as well.
So the history bug in me, right? And sometimes I wish I got a little bit more history in school.
Yeah.
My knowledge of history got
and the
after
Tobago
school.
story is so, it's not at the fore.
Yes.
And we need to understand that even our legislation, assembly legislature is an older governance structure than, that what we have in Port Speed.
Tobago has so much. Like when I start to talk, I don't stop. So, but I have to stop now because we are out of time, unfortunately. But I want to thank you so much for being on with us and for giving us a perspective, especially treating with the issues that's coming out of the school reopening situation. And we are definitely hoping that maybe next year we won't have these issues.
We keep planning better. I think routine maintenance is definitely a solution for that. I think ensuring that the plants are maintained well, ensuring that our handymen understand their roles and responsibilities to assisting in maintaining these plants. Principals are proactive in also reporting issues, and we just have better collaboration and communication between all stakeholders, the union, our PTAs, our alumni associations, because as I said before, we're all in this thing to make Tobago the greatest city island on the planet.
All right, great. And thank you so much. And
You're welcome.
Thank you certainly for being with us. It was a pleasure, and we will see you again tomorrow.
Hey.